Park Chong leads a mostly ordinary life with his wife Miho, dealing with the typical ups and downs. One morning, he decides to use her skin cream to improve his complexion, which upsets his wife. After getting ready, they head off to their jobs. Miho is a nurse, and her co-workers are envious of her because she's married to a lawyer. Most of them assume that Chong makes a lot of money, but Miho insists she didn't marry him for that. On the same day, Chong faces a major case, but unfortunately, he loses. A crowd forms, blaming him for the outcome, and they start calling him Big Mouth because he talks too much but can't win any cases. Feeling defeated, Chong sits outside the courthouse with his father-in-law, Gu Kwang, discussing the case. Miho calls, but both men are hesitant to answer. Eventually, Chong has no choice but to pick up and admit to Miho that he lost again, meaning no income will be coming in. Angry, Miho demands a divorce. Chong tries to get his father-in-law to intervene, but Miho seems determined in her decision. That evening, Miho drinks a few glasses of wine while her father packs Chong's belongings. When Gu Kwang hands the bags to his son-in-law, Chong pleads with him to help fix things with Miho, but Gu Kwang feels there's little he can do. The next day, however, Chong shows up at home with a large sum of money, hoping to reconcile. Miho is suspicious, wondering how he got it, but there's something she doesn't know. Chong had met with the city's mayor, Choi, who had given him the money. Choi wants Chong to take on a case involving 3 men who were in a car accident during which a dead body was found in their trunk. However, Chong won't be acting as their lawyer. Instead, he'll serve as a frontman while the 3 men manipulate the case by bribing judges and doing shady things behind the scenes. At first, Chong is hesitant, but the mayor convinces him, claiming he wants to uncover the truth. The 3 men also have a dashcam video hidden somewhere, likely showing what actually happened. Chong agrees to take the case and visits the 3 men in jail. They are Dr. Han, Duggan, and Chaeyoung. The trio thinks Chong is perfect for the job because they see him as a failure who will do whatever they want. Suddenly, the warden informs them that the police received an anonymous tip about the dashcam footage. What they don't know is that Chong was the one who tipped them off. After leaving the prison, Chong secretly plants a recorder in their cell to overhear their conversations. Through this, he learns that another accomplice has the video and quickly informs the mayor. Chong and Choi then visit the set of a cooking show hosted by Miss Jang, who happens to be Dr. Han's wife. That same day, a mysterious man attacks Jang, but she's saved by Chong and Choi. Chong asks Jang about the dashcam footage, but she denies having it. He then plays the prison recording for her, warning that she could be charged as an accomplice. Jang, feeling cornered, hands over the video and also gives Chong the name of Gong Jiun, the president of a major newspaper. Later, at home, Chong watches the footage, which shows the 3 men murdering Professor Essie. In his dying moments, Essie tells them that their secret will eventually come out. As Chong's financial situation improves from the payments he's receiving from the mayor, he decides to take Miho out for a fancy dinner. However, during dinner, Chong gets an urgent phone call and has to leave. A kind female employee offers him a free coffee, but the drink is drugged. As Chong drives, he begins to feel dizzy and crashes his car. Despite the severity of the accident, he wakes up shortly after, dreaming of how he first met Miho. Meanwhile, a man searches his crashed car and steals the dashcam footage. But that's not the end of his troubles. The police have a warrant to search his office, where they discover drugs, cash, and even gold. Chong is arrested, and both the media and authorities label him as the infamous criminal known as Big Mouse. The lawyer tries reaching out to Choi for assistance, but the mayor rejects him, saying he should have been more cautious. Chong is imprisoned, and the 3 men decide to eliminate him since he's no longer useful to them. Just as they are about to execute him, President Gong Jiun calls the warden, ordering him to stop the execution. Big Mouse has stolen money from him, and Gong wants it back. If Big Mouse dies, they won't be able to recover it. The warden halts the execution, and Chong must adjust to life in prison. Thrown into his cell, Chong watches Miho talking to reporters. Before ending her speech, she looks directly into the camera and tells Chong she tried to visit him, but they wouldn't allow it. Later, a prosecutor interrogates Chong to determine if he's Big Mouse, even hooking him up to a lie detector. But as the big questions come up, the scene cuts away, leaving it unclear whether Chong is Big Mouse or not. Later, Jun visits his friends in prison, warning them not to harm Big Mouse because he still needs to find the money first. The warden watches this conversation on camera while eating popcorn, finding the situation amusing since some powerful men want Big Mouse dead while others do not. The warden then speaks to Chong, initially being friendly, but growing hostile when Chong insists he isn't Big Mouse. Disappointed with how things have turned out, Chong feels indifferent about living or dying. He picks a fight with a prison boss named Chunsik, but when he realizes his will to live is stronger than his despair, he defeats him. He even tries to provoke a psycho serial killer to kill him, but the killer breaks down crying when Chong mentions his mother. This moment convinces the other inmates that Chong truly is Big Mouse, as only a notorious criminal would have the nerve to stand up to anyone. Later, Chong fakes an escape attempt to provoke the guards into shooting him, but they simply arrest him because the warden, watching through cameras, orders them to stand down. The next day, the prisoners are assigned to clean the drains, but things spiral out of control when they're served disgusting food. Chong, now identifying with Big Mouse, incites a mini riot. The prisoners hurl buckets of waste at the guards, forcing the warden to intervene. Chong confronts the warden, whispering in his ear that he will kill him and the three powerful men if the warden continues to make his life miserable. Reluctantly, the warden backs off, allowing the prisoners to receive better food. Eventually, Chong's lawyer comes to visit him, with Miho tagging along. She's received divorce papers from Chong and wants to stop him from going through with it. Chong explains that he's doing this to protect her, believing a divorce will keep her safe. However, Miho refuses to let go of their past, insisting she remain his wife and support him no matter what. Later, Chong is placed in solitary confinement, and this is where his identity truly fuses with Big Mouse. A voiceover paraphrases Carl Jung, suggesting that a man can become the persona he constantly replays in his subconscious. When Chong returns to the general population, he's a transformed man. The other inmates revere him for what he's done for them, and he's ready to take things further. He asks his fellow inmate, Jerry, to inform everyone that he will grant the prisoners' wishes. Several prisoners come to him with requests, including the cell's leader, who asks Chong to find his lost daughter. She's been missing for a long time, and despite his efforts to locate her, he ended up in prison. The psycho serial killer also asks Chong for help, wanting him to care for his sick, hospitalized mother. Meanwhile, Miho begins a new job as a nurse at the hospital, where the mayor's wife is working, with the hope of uncovering more information about Professor Seo. Based on dashcam footage, it seems like Professor Seo may have left behind a document that could expose some powerful people. She takes on the role of a caregiver for cancer patients and soon faces an emergency when a patient's heart stops. Miho performs CPR and saves the patient, but instead of being praised, Han scolds her. Miho is new and didn't know that all the patients' families on this floor had signed orders prohibiting CPR in such situations. Miho finds this strange and frustrating, but knows she needs to be cautious and gather more information. While on a break outside, Miho notices a hospital staff member trying to pressure a woman into signing a similar no CPR order for her relative, who is also a patient. Back in the prison, the three powerful men summon the warden for a meeting, making it clear that they want Chong dead. The warden, however, can't let them do it because he has different instructions from June. On the other hand, he finds it hard to say no to the huge bribe the three men offer, asking him to simply look the other way for a moment. Soon, the three VIPs organize some prisoners to carry out the mission. The guards lock them in an area with Chong and his followers, and a fight breaks out. During the chaos, the serial killer pulls out a knife and heads toward Chong, despite pretending to be loyal to him. Fortunately, the room leader spots this and jumps in, saving Chong from the attack. The warden is forced to stop the fight, knowing that if he doesn't, June will find out he was involved. The next day, another issue arises at the hospital when Miho gives a patient 2 milligrams of medication, only to be reprimanded by the head nurse, who says she should have administered 1 milligram. To settle the argument, they check the patient's prescription on the computer, which shows the dosage as 1 milligram. Miho insists that someone must have altered it, as it previously read 2 milligrams, and she has a screenshot on her phone to prove it. Later, Han calls a staff meeting, and Miho decides to take an aggressive stance. She interrupts while Yan is speaking, hinting that she has read Professor Seo's paper. According to the paper, many of the hospital's practices are in direct violation of proper medical protocols. On her way home, Miho gets the eerie feeling that someone is watching her, but she is relieved when she meets up with her father and makes it home safely. As they arrive, she receives a call from the mayor requesting to meet her in person. Back at the prison, a series of events work in Chong's favor. One of the men who attacked him is found dead in solitary confinement. The guards assume the man took his own life since no one else could have entered his cell. However, another inmate keeps shouting that Big Mouse killed him, A doctor examines the screaming inmate and concludes that he's gone insane. When several prisoners are allowed back into the general population in the cafeteria, tensions rise, as everyone expects a confrontation with Big Mouse's followers. While eating, one of the men is poisoned and dies, reinforcing the belief among the prisoners that Big Mouse is eliminating his enemies one by one. Meanwhile, Chong starts to consider that Big Mouse might actually be in the prison and responsible for framing him. June later visits Chong in prison, demanding that he return his money. Chong refuses, and June challenges him, questioning how he can be sure Chong is really Big Mouse. He then mentions that Big Mouse had dealings with drug dealers and demands that Chong give him the names of the top dealers he worked with. Chong, not knowing these names, deflects by saying he likes to keep his clients' identities confidential. Unsatisfied, June gives him 5 days to provide the names or else he'll assume Chong isn't Big Mouse and kill him. After June leaves, Chong assaults a guard to steal his phone and calls the mayor, asking for the names. The mayor has the list, having received it from the prosecutor, but he refuses to help Chong and hangs up on him. Inside the prison, the warden and some of his guards review footage from the cafeteria and realize that the man who died took a cyanide pill, meaning he ended his own life rather than being killed by Big Mouse. The warden orders a search of Chong's cell, but nothing suspicious is found. Warden Park tells Chong he knows his secret. He craves admiration, but points out that Chong didn't directly kill those men. Chong responds by saying he didn't have to use his own hands to convince the men to end their lives. Meanwhile, Miho is still being followed, so she texts her father for help. Mr. G and Sun Tai, a lawyer who is a friend of Chong's, catch the man and handcuff him. The man admits he is the mayor's secretary. Shortly afterward, Choi visits Miho, explaining that he had his secretary follow her out of concern after she mentioned Professor Seos' paper. To clarify things, he also hands Miho a list of Big Mouse's top 5 drug clients. Wasting no time, Miho visits her husband in prison to give him the list. In the prison, a wave of smuggled betting cards floods the cells, with inmates placing wagers on the battle between Big Mouse and the 3 VIPs. Despite the guards trying to stop the betting frenzy, Big Mouse confronts the VIPs directly and offers proof of his identity, leading to a big bet being placed. At the same time, Choi meets June at an art gallery, where June reveals the list he gave to the prosecutor was fake. June is certain Chong will provide the fake names and, in doing so, prove he's not Big Mouse. Choi tries to warn Chong, but can't get through because the warden has his phone. Chong is soon taken from his cell toward a meeting room. While a crowd of inmates cheers for Big Mouse, the mayor arrives at the prison, but Choi is blocked from speaking with Chong by the warden, who orders his guards to take Chong away. Choi eventually joins the VIPs and June in the meeting room. The warden explains the rules of their game. June will write down the names of Big Mouse's top 5 drug clients on a piece of paper and fold it. Big Mouse will then write the same names, and they'll compare to see if the names match. Most expect Big Mouse to lose, but everyone is stunned when the names match perfectly. Many inmates celebrate their betting wins. Back in the meeting room, Choi begins to believe that Chong might truly be Big Mouse and has been playing everyone. Meanwhile, June still refuses to believe Chong is Big Mouse and tells the group that a man named Peter Hong has been arrested. Hong was Big Mouse's fund manager, tasked with laundering his money through investments. Chong is taken to the interrogation room for Hong to identify him, but before Hong can answer, his alarm goes off, signaling that he needs his insulin shot. After receiving his shot, Hong unexpectedly dies before revealing anything. Later, June privately questions Choi, asking if he is Big Mouse, but quickly dismisses it as a joke. Their conversation reveals tension between them, stemming from a powerful figure known as the Elder, who runs the city and favors Choi over June. This jealousy adds another layer to their rivalry. June later invites Miho to dinner, curious to see if she is as dangerous as her husband, assuming she really is Big Mouse's wife. He tries to buy Professor Seos' paper from her, offering her any price she wants, but Miho refuses to negotiate and leaves. When the winnings from the baits are distributed, Chong pays off the warden to keep him off his back. The 3 VIPs are growing increasingly anxious about the recent events, imagining that Big Mouse will soon come after them. Jahan visits the prison again to meet with these powerful men, but ends up encountering Big Mouse as well. During their conversation, June gets a call from his wife, who tells him someone sent her funeral flowers, a clear warning from Chong to stay away from his wife. Later on, Chong corners Dr. Han, one of the three VIPs, and tells him he has seen the footage and knows that Han was only the driver when Koo was killed, meaning Han won't be charged as a murderer during their trial. However, since the authorities don't have this video, Chong wants Han to testify truthfully in court. At first, Dr. Han refuses, but Chong nearly kills him to make his point. When Han is revived, he agrees to follow Chong's instructions. Meanwhile, Miho decides to follow the head nurse around the hospital because her behavior seems suspicious. Miho ends up in a storage room, but the head nurse appears to have vanished. Just then, a guard and Miss Hun enter the room, having spotted Miho on the cameras. Miho pretends she's gathering medical supplies, and Hun orders her to leave, reminding the guard never to go into the hidden compartment in the storage room. The next day, Choi meets with Miho and tells her that her husband has been deceiving everyone he really is Big Mouse. Miho struggles to believe it. But Choi explains that the list he had given her was filled with fake names of drug clients, while Chong had provided the real names during his confrontation with June. That same day, the hospital staff volunteers to provide dental care for the inmates, allowing Miho to meet her husband privately. She immediately asks if he really is Big Mouse. The warden watches their conversation closely, but Chong already suspects this. He takes Miho to a spot in the yard where the warden can't eavesdrop and tells her the truth. The day before his confrontation with June, Chong was ambushed someone, put a bag over his head, and knocked him out. When he woke up, his friend Jerry was there, and Chong found a tarot card on him with 5 names written on it. Chong didn't know whether this was a trick, so he wasn't sure whether to use the names Choi had given him or the ones on the tarot card. But when Choi visited him looking worried, Chong realized something was off and decided to use the names from the tarot card. Since then, the real Big Mouse has been communicating with him through tarot cards. If the card is placed normally, Chong knows Big Mouse will take action. If the card is upside down, Chong knows it's up to him to act. Meanwhile, Dr. Han spends some private time with his wife and tries to initiate intimacy, but Jang refuses because she knows there are cameras in the room, and someone could be watching. Angry, Han loses his temper and beats her. Later, when the hospital staff leaves the prison, Miho notices bruises on Jang's neck and offers to help her if she needs it. That evening, Miho receives a phone call as she heads home. The woman on the other end is someone Miho had seen in the hospital a few days earlier when a man was pressuring her to sign a strange hospital contract. The woman reveals that Seo's paper is real and that it's hidden inside a piece of jewelry. Before his death, Seo had asked her, a jewelry maker, to conceal something inside a cross-shaped piece of jewelry. As the woman is speaking, an assassin appears behind her and pushes her to her death. Miho confronts Hun about the cross, having seen her wearing it around her neck. Surprisingly, Hun hands the cross over to Miho to inspect. Miho tries to figure out if there's anything hidden inside the cross, pulling and examining it from every angle, but she finds nothing. When she gets home, she watches a video from a forum where Hun and Jang are speaking. She and the rest of the team realize that Jang is wearing a necklace with a cross inside it, which could be the piece of jewelry they're looking for. A flashback reveals that Jang met Professor Seo one night after she fled home due to Han's abuse. Seo took care of her, and over time, they fell in love. Eventually, Seo gave her the necklace as a gift. In the present, the 3 VIPs are about to be taken to court, where Han is supposed to tell the truth. However, the warden ensures that Kan6's gang holds Han back, so he can't mess things up for the other 2 VIPs. Chong starts laughing, as this was his plan all along. He knew Han wouldn't tell the truth if he left the prison anyway. Chong's men pretend to fight with Kan6's crew in the chapel, during which they break a statue of the Virgin Mary. Chong's real plan, though, is to catch Big Mouse. He intends to replace the statue with a new one containing a hidden camera, allowing him to monitor who enters the chapel to leave the tarot cards. Meanwhile, another cancer patient dies at the hospital. Miho, growing more suspicious, visits the family to pay her respects. While there, she overhears a conversation about the contract they signed, which mandated cremation rather than burial. Miho finds this odd, suspecting it's a precaution to prevent further tests on the body later. She takes action by visiting the hospital morgue that night and secretly draws blood from one of the deceased patients. As she exits the morgue, Yun is waiting with guards, ordering them to search her. However, Miho has planned ahead and isn't carrying anything incriminating. Once she's left alone, she returns to the morgue and retrieves the vials of blood. As she rides the elevator, an assassin sneaks through the top hatch and attacks her. Fortunately, Choi arrives just in time and the assassin is forced to flee when the elevator doors open. Back at the prison, Chong reviews the footage from the hidden camera in the church and notices Jerry has been going in and out. However, he also spots that 30 minutes of the video are missing, suggesting the footage was edited, likely by the real Big Mouse. This clears Jerry of being Big Mouse and shows he entered the church by accident. Later, Jerry is approached by June, who offers to buy his freedom if he poisons Chong with some tainted tea. Jerry agrees, but regrets his decision, notifying Miho that her husband is suffering from food poisoning. Miho and her father act quickly, saving Chong in time, and they thank Jerry for his help, giving him money as a token of gratitude. While Chong is recovering in the hospital, a guard pricks his thumb to use his blood for signing a document. The guard then hands the signed paper to Jiyoon in the parking lot. Miho stays by her husband's side, but the guards soon make her leave. Chong is later escorted outside, where he embraces his wife before the officers take him away. On the journey, Chong realizes he isn't being taken back to prison and tries to fight back. The guards inject him with a sedative, and he wakes up in a mental asylum. Chong dreams of being back in the prison chapel, where he sees Big Mouse approach the confessional. Chong grabs him from behind, and the two fight. He manages to remove Big Mouse's mask, only to see his own face underneath. When Chong wakes up, he's in a white room, restrained and unable to move. The nurses taunt him, following strict orders to keep him awake. The prosecutor later explains to June that this is part of a plan to heighten the effects of the truth serum they're about to inject into Chong. After the serum is administered, Chong begins to hallucinate, seeing a mouse crawling on his leg, then more mice flooding the room, overwhelming him with fear. June questions Chong under the influence of the serum, asking if he is Big Mouse. Chong denies it, but June presses on, asking where he hid the money he supposedly stole. Chong insists he didn't take any money, but he soon dozes off, dreaming of an excursion. He and his wife had gone to a mountain near their city, and when he wakes up again, Jiyoon is about to inject him with a second dose of truth serum. The prosecutor warns that another dose could trigger a heart attack, but Jiyoon doesn't care because the man still isn't telling him where the money is. Chong, wanting to stay alive, finally gives up the name of the mountain he visited with his wife, buying himself some time. Jiyoon and his team head to the mountain and dig in the spot where the money is supposed to be. They find a wooden box, but inside, there's only 1 bar of gold. Jiyoon returns to the asylum, demanding the rest of his money. When Chong hears Jiyoon found some gold, he realizes that Big Mouse is still watching over him, even from this place. Soon after, a fire breaks out in the asylum, giving Chong a chance to escape. However, a large male nurse blocks his way, leading to a fight. A firefighter rushes in to help Chong, and it turns out to be Jerry, his former cellmate. Jerry helps Chong escape from the asylum and gives him the keys to a car. Chong, confused, asks what's going on, and Jerry reveals that Big Mouse paid him to save Chong. Chong asks if Jerry has met Big Mouse, but Jerry doesn't have time to answer and quickly drives away. Unfortunately, Jerry is stopped by the police and gets injured trying to flee. The police are searching everywhere for Chong, and later that night, Chong runs into a police checkpoint. As an officer checks his car, he discreetly compares Chong's face to the fugitive's picture on his phone. Surprisingly, the officer lets Chong go, and the camera shows a tattoo behind the officer's ear. The next morning, Miho and the others decide to take action. They leak information to an online show with 800,000 subscribers discussing Professor Ku's case. They also protest outside the courthouse, claiming Chong didn't escape, but was kidnapped. When Miho sees the prosecutor, she confronts him, saying he needs to do his job. He asks for her phone to check if she's helping Chong. Chong later calls sooner and asks to talk to his wife, reassuring her that he will expose everyone, including Big Mouse. The next day, 3 powerful men are taken to court while Chong appears on a live stream for the web show. As the trial begins, Chong predicts that the 3 men will be set free. He explains that the trial is a sham, but needs to look believable. The prosecutor will present 3 pieces of evidence against them, including that their DNA was found on a body in their trunk. However, the men will claim they were trying to save Professor Seo by performing CPR, explaining why their DNA is on the body. A flashback reveals that the 3 men had come up with this strategy when their car crashed, knowing their DNA would be found. News spreads online that Big Mouse is live and accurately predicting the trial. Jiyoon hears about this from his secretary and signals the prosecutor to ask the judge for a break. While the bad guys regroup, Jiyoon gets a call from Ms. Young, who says she has Seo's paper. She give it to Ji-yoon in exchange for something she wants her husband to sign divorce papers that she send over email. Ji-yoon moves quickly, forcing Han to sign the papers before delivering them to Young. At their meeting, Young gives Ji-yoon a USB with the paper, but Ji-yoon gets angry when he realizes it's just a worthless document. He accuses Young of trying to trick him, pointing out that the 3 men who killed Seo wouldn't have done it for something so trivial. Suddenly, Ji-yoon realizes he's been recorded on camera the whole time. He grabs the camera and smashes it. Ji-yoon wants to hold on to Young, but the mayor steps in, helping her leave. Meanwhile, Chong appears outside the courthouse, promising to reveal the truth to the public. But for now, he's arrested and taken back to prison. At the same time, Jerry wakes up in the hospital, where a doctor with a wrist tattoo hands him a piece of paper with a message. Back in prison, Chong continues to play the game. The mayor is shown secretly hoarding gold bars and sensitive documents. The following morning, the elder summons the 3 ex-prisoners for a meeting, intending to chastise them. At the same time, Chong arrives at the elder's office, presenting him with Professor Seo's papers, which he had quietly obtained from Mrs. Jang. Chong assures the elder that nothing in the world can threaten him now. As they step outside, the 3 men confront Jui for embarrassing them, but the mayor remains one step ahead. The men remind Jui that they had agreed to deal with the body, but Jui confesses that he orchestrated the car crash to expose the men. He had secured the dashcam footage, using it to blackmail them. However, he destroyed the footage to keep himself safe. Even if the men tried to implicate him, no one would believe them. Jui tells the men that keeping him out of trouble is their best bet if they want his continued protection. Inside the prison, Chong leaves a message for Big Mouse, demanding a meeting or threatening to stop helping him. Big Mouse agrees to the meeting, and Chong is surprised to see Warden Park show up, claiming to be Big Mouse. Chong is skeptical, finding it hard to believe the warden is the mastermind. Warden Park insists he killed the men who attacked Chong weeks ago, explaining that he has control over everything within the prison. However, Chong records the conversation, capturing the warden's confession, but still doubts that he's truly Big Mouse. Instead, Chong believes the warden is merely a pawn in a larger scheme. Meanwhile, prisoners start showing strange symptoms, craving vitamins being administered by Gunnan Hospital. Miho, who was recently fired from Gunnan, comes to the prison to seek a job, determined to uncover the secrets behind the hospital. One day, she saves a prisoner's life and secures a job inside the prison. The doctors at Gunnan run tests on the prisoner, but find nothing unusual in his blood work. Suspicious, Miho sneaks a blood sample out and gives it to someone whose identity remains unknown. Chong hands the recorded confession to the mayor and prosecutor, leading to Warden Park's arrest. That night, Dr. Hun consumes a spiked drink and is involved in an accident. During a private moment with Miho, Chong shares his suspicion that the mayor is actually Big Mouse. Miho mentions recent blood work she obtained from the morgue, showing altered blood types. Chong recalls the mayor's contact with her in the elevator and suspects he may have switched the blood samples, knowing she had smuggled them out. The next day, Gansu Chul, the former head guard, and now the new warden, gathers the inmates for an announcement. After introducing himself as the new warden, he reveals plans to install anonymous complaint boxes around the prison. He also announces a thorough search of all inmates under the guise of looking for weapons. However, a flashback shows that his real objective is to find any inmate with a tattoo resembling one from a tarot card design, a clue in the search for Big Mouse. Soon, a prisoner with the matching tattoo is found, and Chong discusses this discovery with the warden. The next day, the former warden returns to the prison, but this time as an inmate rather than an officer. He audaciously slaps Gan, but the new warden quickly shows him who's in charge. Gan soon gathers the prisoners again and introduces them to Park and several other inmates who were found with tarot card tattoos. He reveals that Big Mouse has established a whole network supporting him, and the men he's presenting are part of this organization. The warden urges the inmates to find Big Mouse and promises favors to anyone who can locate him. Additionally, he clarifies that Chong is not Big Mouse and has been deceiving them all along. The prisoners start assaulting Park to force him into revealing Big Mouse's true identity, but Chong intervenes to stop them. Later, Chong storms into Gan's office, and a heated argument ensues. The warden asserts his authority, stating that he will run the prison however he pleases. Chong tries to call the mayor, hoping to rein in the warden, but Choi tells him he's in a meeting and hangs up. Meanwhile, Dr. Han encounters his ex-wife, Young, and declares he can't live without her. Despite her attempts to avoid him, their confrontation turns violent, resulting in her death. The mayor arrives at the scene, deals with the body, and discovers her phone with messages from Miho. The mayor realizes Miho was supposed to provide blood samples from inmates for examination. The mayor contacts Gan, informing him of something crucial. After their conversation, the warden announces his intention to kill Chong and Miho that night in the prison yard. Chong demands a meeting with the real Big Mouse, issuing an ultimatum. If Big Mouse fails to appear, Chong will withdraw his support. That night, Chong waits in the darkness for Big Mouse. When Big Mouse arrives, Chong uses a lighter to reveal his face and discovers that Big Mouse is the room leader. Big Mouse explains that he chose Chong because he believed he needed saving and accuses Ji-yoon and the Elder's organization of his daughter's death, vowing to punish them all. Chong expresses his desire to withdraw, but Big Mouse threatens to kill him if he does. Chong contemplates proposing a new deal, but the scene shifts to the warden's office, where he prepares to kill Miho. Miho is attacked by the warden's most trusted guard, but is rescued by a psychopathic inmate. Gan Soo-chul then arrives to finish the job, but Chong intervenes before he can pull the trigger. Park and Big Mouse soon join the fray. Park kills Gan with his own gun. Now it's Chong's turn to act. He calls Ji-yoon, informing him that he wants him to come to the prison to confront Choi. Chong then handcuffs Big Mouse, preparing to turn him over to the authorities. A flashback reveals Chong's secret deal with Big Mouse. Chong will become his lawyer upon release, defend him in court, and post his bail. In exchange, Big Mouse will cover the bail and secure his freedom. Back in the present, Chong hands Big Mouse over to the authorities while the mayor and Ji-yoon watch. Chong then approaches Ji-yoon, telling him he can now recover his money. Chong is subsequently released and becomes Big Mouse's lawyer. Reporters are intrigued by this development, but Chong assures them he will perform his duties ethically. Elsewhere, Ji-yoon meets with the Elder, who is about to reward him for locating Big Mouse. The Elder plans to donate all his shares in Ji-yoon's company, making Ji-yoon the sole controller of the company. Their meeting is interrupted by who turns on the TV. The Elder watches as Chong attends a press conference, announcing his intention to expose those behind the city's corruption. The Elder is furious upon hearing this and retracts his donation, since Ji-yoon hasn't completed his task. Ji-yoon tries to convince him that he will handle Chong, but the Elder warns not to underestimate Chong, as he's the one who uncovered Big Mouse. A few days later, Big Mouse makes bail and is released from prison under strict conditions, including real-time police tracking. Chong drives him to his old restaurant, where Big Mouse reminisces about the good times he had with his daughter. He invites Chong to visit the restaurant the next night to meet the top members of his organization. But as soon as Big Mouse leaves, the building explodes. After the police finish their investigation, Chong enters the ruins and is attacked by an assassin. The assassin almost stabs him, but Jerry and a friend intervene, stopping the attacker. Jerry then takes Chong to an organization meeting where they watch a video left by Big Mouse. In the video, Big Mouse explains that by the time they're watching, he's already dead and announces that Chong is to become the new Big Mouse. Park is displeased with this decision, but can't oppose it. Chong clarifies that he won't be Big Mouse forever, only until his mission is complete. Tai then arrives, revealing he has been part of the organization all along. Park continues to cause trouble for Chong, so Chong ties him up, locks him in a car, and douses him with gasoline. Park is left with two choices: accept the decision or leave the organization. Meanwhile, the mayor is attacked at his gym, but manages to fend off his assailant and survives. Yun visits a secret lab at Gunnan Hospital and uncovers its hidden secrets, though the series doesn't reveal specifics yet. She decides to destroy the lab, then meets with the Elder to discuss her actions. The Elder is upset, but Yun explains that the lab was not secure enough, and she plans to build a new, safer facility with trusted personnel. She asks for funds to ensure the new lab's success and requests Ji-yoon's company shares. The Elder agrees, and Ji-yoon is furious but powerless to stop it. Meanwhile, the mayor addresses reporters about the recent attack, urging them not to jump to conclusions until the police provide credible information. That night, Ji-yoon enjoys drinks with friends, but is surprised the next day when Chong calls and asks to meet. During their meeting, Chong tries to persuade Ji-yoon to take him to see the Elder, promising to help Ji-yoon take down Choi, knowing they are rivals. Later, Chong announces at a press conference that he will run for mayor in the upcoming election. That evening, Ji-yoon decides to ally with Chong and takes him to see the Elder. In this unexpected meeting, Chong claims to be Big Mouse, but the Elder knows Big Mouse is dead. Chong explains that his organization has forced him to become the new Big Mouse and suggests that if they work together, they might both benefit. Although the Elder is skeptical, Chong presents him with a list of the top 10 members of Big Mouse's organization. Chong seeks the elder's support to become mayor, arguing that this is the only way to defeat Big Mouse's organization and that the elder would benefit from having no obstacles in his way. The elder needs time to consider the proposal, but invites Chong to his birthday party the next night. As they leave, Choi tries to intimidate Chong, warning him that this is a war he can't win. Meanwhile, Miho and her father make an important discovery when they find an elderly man in a nursing home. It turns out this man was the elder's former business partner who wanted their company to be ethical, but the elder had already chosen a different path for his business endeavors. All he cared about was making money, regardless of who got hurt along the way. When this man turned against him, the elder orchestrated an accident to harm him. But there's more. Mayor Choi is the grandson of this man and had switched identities when he was young to deceive the elder, making sure he would never realize that Choi was his partner's relative. Choi is now determined to get revenge on the elder. The next day, Choi persuades Park to join forces with him to eliminate Chong. That night, Miho goes to the elder's birthday party, but her husband is missing. Park abducts and kills him while he's on a video call with Choi. When Miho finds out, she tries to confront the mayor, but Choi just smiles. The mayor visits Park at the warehouse where Chong was killed, but finds no trace of the body. Park claims he's taken care of it, and Choi explains his plan to take control of the city. Meanwhile, Chong is alive and well. This was all a setup. He has everything recorded and shows the footage to the elder, convincing him that Choi will pose a threat in the future. The elder sees Chong as a new ally and agrees to support him, preferring him over Choi. Choi, aware that he needs to act quickly, meets with the elder that night and kills him by injecting a drug into his bloodstream. He then breaks into the elder's office, steals the will, and hands it over to an accomplice to alter its contents. The next day, the elder's funeral takes place and tensions rise quickly, leading to fights breaking out. Miho visits the imprisoned psycho killer, who reveals that the prisoners suffered more while working on a tunnel, possibly due to harmful water pipes. Before they part ways, the psycho killer asks Miho to find his siblings and check on their mother's health. Miho tracks down the siblings, but they refuse to speak with her. Unfortunately, Miho discovers she's also ill, as her nose and gums are bleeding. The following day, Jun makes his move and meets with the attorney responsible for reading the elder's will. Jun wants the attorney to alter the will's contents, but the attorney refuses. Despite Chun's bribe attempts, the attorney remains unmoved. When the will is finally read, everyone is shocked to learn that the elder left half of his companies to Han and the remaining to Choi. Everyone sees the will for themselves and starts fighting over their shares, as they are left with nothing but what they already owned. Choi and his wife quietly walk away. That night, Choi pretends he's about to reveal a major secret to his wife, but it's just a lie. The current mayor turns the story around, claiming he's the grandson of the elder's old business partner. He feigns uncertainty about why the elder left half of his companies to him, whether it's due to his own merit or simply because he's the grandson of his old friend. Han is committed to supporting her husband, and the election campaign kicks off the next day. Choi uses his many connections to appear on every channel, persuading the city to vote for him. Meanwhile, Chong and his organization continue with their activities, unaware that his wife is seeing a doctor. Miho gets a cancer diagnosis after blood tests and is advised to make future plans. Knowing her time is limited, she returns to her husband, gets drunk, and they enjoy a walk by the lake together. The next day, Jun attends a meeting with his friends, where everyone is silent, intimidated by Choi and Han's newfound power. Jun tries to oppose them, but Yun warns that if he doesn't cooperate, she call a board meeting to remove him as CEO. Feeling powerless, Jun meets with Choi to offer something that might be used against Choi. He reveals that the elder has a son living in America. This guy is a lunatic, and even his own father didn't want him around. However, if they manage to find him and bring him back into the country, he might be able to claim some of the contents of the will. In the meantime, Miho learns that the psycho killer prisoner is in the hospital and nearing death. She goes to visit him, and he asks about his mother. Miho reassures him that his mother is improving, so he can die in peace. Shortly after, the prisoner's sister reveals to Miho that her brother isn't actually a psycho. He took the fall for a rich man who was the real psycho killer. They needed money to save their mother, so they accepted the rich man's offer. Miho visits Han and gives her a summary of everything she's learned, urging her to stop what she's doing since enough people have already died. That night, Miho spends time with her husband, helps him with his political campaign, and grabs a meal together. Meanwhile, Choi makes a daring move. The next day, he tracks down the man responsible for a cryptocurrency scam from a few months ago. Chong was the attorney for the scam's victims back then and lost the case. Choi pays the scammer to tell the media that Chong lost the case because the scammer had bribed him. Miho continues to dig up damaging secrets about Choi and Han. She discovers a fish farm that uses water from large pipes connected to a company named NK Chemicals, which was once owned by the elder. The fish farm manager reveals that NK Chemicals produces toxic wastewater while refining their drugs. This water is fatal if ingested, and while the fish are also harmful, they're not sold, just raised to make the farm look legitimate. Meanwhile, Choi and Chong are debating on TV, each trying to outwit the other. At the fish farm, Miho records the manager's confession and collects all the evidence she can. Back at the studio, the crypto scammer questions Chong to discredit him. Miho rushes to the studio with Jerry driving her, evading attempts to stop them by police members aligned with the Big Mouse organization. When Miho arrives, she grabs the microphone and reveals to the world that she has cancer, contracted from exposure to NK Chemicals water. She plays the video from the fish farm, exposing the truth and sparking a scandal. Chong tries to stay composed during the fallout, but Miho remains calm and helps him manage the situation. Protests erupt across the city, and the prosecutor calls Choi in for questioning. Chong meets with Han to tell her that she will be held accountable for the harm she's caused, equating it to how many people are losing their loved ones. Despite everything, Choi wins the election and remains the city's mayor, leaving everyone in disbelief. Miho urges everyone to stay hopeful. Suddenly, they receive a package from Han containing an old burner phone Choi used for secret communications. As days pass, Miho's condition worsens, but she cannot miss the upcoming trial where this burner phone might be crucial for sending Choi to prison. Unfortunately, Choi is ahead of them. One of his accomplices claims the phone is his, and they've altered all the messages and calls, so there's no incriminating evidence. Choi walks free without consequences. A few days later, Miho dies. After paying his respects, Chong takes matters into his own hands. He meets Choi at a gym he now owns, revealing that the gym is filled with toxic water from NK Chemicals. Choi is affected by the water and dies in front of Chong, who finally delivers the justice that eluded the law. So here is the end of this story. Now we will meet in the next videos. Till then, take care and enjoy the another videos.